Brazil. Talk about Brazil. They are coming off a disappointing performance as they drop points to Costa Rica, 0-0 draw. They want to right their wrong and get back on track in this game against against Paraguay. Big game for them because they do not want to enter that Colombia game anything less than 4 points. It's looking likely already at this point that the Panama is gonna have. Not Panama. I keep saying Panama. That Colombia are probably gonna have 6 points entering that final game. Because I think it's fairly likely that they get the 3 points versus Costa Rica, and you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're not playing to win the group in that final game. You're playing just to be at the tournament, which is a dangerous place to find yourself in as a Brazil national team, especially going up against a Colombia that, in my opinion, is one of the stronger teams in this tournament. Brazil, they really were on the main foot against Costa Rica. They entered the ball in the Costa Rica penalty area 49 times, which is the highest ever figure in a Copa America match since the statistic started being recorded in 2011, which is, it shows how much of a main foot they were on the game. But Paraguay, they weren't able to get the breakthrough, which is really frustrating for Brazil. I told you my thoughts on Vinicius and him and his level of performances and the difference in levels when he's playing for Real Madrid compared to Brazil. When you look at Real Madrid, I believe at Real Madrid, or in general, he's the joint leader for goals and assists, or he is the leader in terms of goals plus assist contributions in Champions League knockout stage is history. And you compare that for what he's done with Brazil, a total of 3 goals and 31 caps. The levels are nowhere near the same between the two, and it's really frustrating. But they're going up against a Paraguay team that's not really strong. They do have Miguel Almiron and Julian Encisos, who I like. I like Julian, and I do not know how to pronounce his last name. But he's a very, very good player, and he was able to get on the score sheet last game, and maybe he can give combination of him and Almiron's pace can give Brazil a little bit of issues in transition. But Julio Enciso and Miguel Almiron, they're 2 really good players, so you can't count them out to give Brazil a little bit of trouble. Now Paraguay, they have only won 1 game in their last 6 competitive matches, with drawing 2 and losing 3. That's a bad record, and it shows the levels that this Paraguayan team is at. But Brazil are coming off some pretty bad form as well. In general, in competitive play, they've been really woeful in World Cup qualifiers. In the friendlies, the last 2 games were disappointing games, and even the last 3 games, to be honest. It took a last-minute winner to get past Mexico, a weak Mexico team, as we've seen this Copa America. They drew against the U.S., a U.S. team that lost 5-1 to Colombia and just lost to Panama a few hours ago. And then the 0-0 frustrating goalless draw against Costa Rica. But there's just much more needed in the final third from Brazil for them to be competitive defensively as a unit. Yes, they're good with defending on the ball, but I think there's some mistakes in that defense. You're looking at guys like Danilo, Marquinhos, players that are kind of past their prime. I don't know about Marquinhos. Marquinhos is more bad formish because he's not old. I believe he's 30, but his performance levels for PSG has diminished. There's no 2 ways about that. And then Danilo, he's past his prime, so it's disappointing. I do think Atletico Mineiro's fullback Arana, who actually played the full 90 minutes, is very, very good. Even even Dorvial praised him after the has been praising him a lot. He's a very, very good player, and there's no doubt about it. I think since Dorvial Jr. came in, there's been a little bit more structure in the Brazil team in terms of how they press when they lose the ball, how defensively they don't give up much space, which was really bad under Fernando Diniz during the World Cup qualifiers. There was a lot of space given up. It was a lack of energy press-wise at certain moments. I think he's come in and he's done a good job, Dorvial Jr., but I don't think it's enough because I just don't think this team has the quality at that Brazilian national team level. The flair is not there that they used to have as well. You see all these players that are talented and that they play at good clubs. You look at Rodrigo, Vinicius, Rafinha. Those are Barcelona to Real Madrid players. It's a Premier League midfield of Lucas Paquetá and Bruno Guimaraes. João Gomez. He's gonna make a move eventually to a big European club as well. There's still players within this team, but it's Brazil. Brazil is very talented. And by the way, João Gomez actually does play for Wolves. I'm saying he's going to make a move to a bigger club in Europe, potentially. But João Gomez, by the way, was shocking in that Costa Rica game, in my opinion. I think it was really frustrating watching him in midfield. But, overall, must win for Brazil. It's clear from what we saw in the opening matches or so. Argentina, Colombia, Uruguay, those are really the three clear favorites. Don't think Brazil is in that level at this point in time, especially with the likes of Vinicius not showing up the way he shows up for Real Madrid, the way he does for Brazil. I don't think Brazil is at that level at this point in time, but they're still a very talented team. But that's always going to be the case for Brazil in terms of talent. They're always going to produce talent. Even the young guys coming up, that's the thing that gives Brazil a little bit of a shining hope. They got a lot of good young guys coming in. A lot of young players getting scouted. None bigger than Endrick, who really could come in and be the next guy. But I have to be honest, in my lifetime of watching football, this is the worst Brazil national team. And honestly, it's only gotten worse over time. I think 2018 was a very, very good team in my opinion, and that was much better than the 2014 team. But, there's been a steady decline amongst the quality that we get from the Brazil national team. They haven't got past the quarters since, I believe, since they won it all in 2002. I believe so. They have not got past the quarters. Actually, no. In 2014, they didn't make the semis. But besides that, where they made the semis and, being at home virtually, handed them, gave them the route to get to the semifinals, that home crowd. Because let's be honest, that Brazil team was weak, and that Brazil team was weaker than the team that got eliminated in the 2018 in the quarters, the team that got eliminated in the 2022 in the quarters, the team that got eliminated in 2010 in the quarters, the team that got eliminated in 2026 in the quarters. That 2014 team is the worst of the lot. Not worse than this team right now, but worse than the lot in terms of all the other World Cup teams. But they reached the semifinal through being the home nation, the support. They really should have got knocked out in the round of 16 by Chile, but they were able to get past that, and then they took on a strong Colombia team and played probably their best game in the tournament in that game, Brazil, and then they ended up getting trounced 7-1, really getting exposed for the fraud run that they were on. But other than that, this Brazil team has not made it past the quarterfinals since they won it all in 2002. So it's a difficult place Brazil finds themselves in general. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. Very important Brazil gets it done. I think Brazil will be able to get it done. I think it'll be tight, but I think they'll be able to find the breakthrough through the likes of Endrick potentially coming off the bench, maybe Rafinha, maybe Rodrigo, maybe Vinicius decides to show up for Brazil, who knows. but I think they'll get it done.